it's time to talk about the Resident Evil franchise leading up to the release of the next movie, the seventh movie, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. And I heard it's actually going to be close to the source material, the video games, because I hear a lot of people complaining that this franchise isn't like the video games. I wouldn't know. I've never played the video games except for like the remastered shit that came out in the last couple of years. I played them a little bit, but I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan. I've only seen the original once before, so this was my second time watching it, but I didn't remember a whole lot, so it was like watching it again for the first time. And I haven't seen the sequels. Never had I I'm not a huge zombie guy, and especially I'm not a huge action horror guy. Like the Purge franchise, after the first one, I don't know, action horror just doesn't do it for me. So, but this one was fine. I got the whole Resident Evil Blu-ray limited edition 4K box set here with all 6 movies in their own standalone little disc holders, whatever you call them. So yeah, it's a nice Blu-ray box set to get if you're a fan of the franchise. It was only like $60 some for all 6 movies for Blu-ray and 4K, so that's not bad. I'm not sure what it is now, but anyways, let's talk about Resident Evil. Interesting fact, I didn't know this. The director married the lead actress in this movie, Milla Jovovich. Is that how you say her name? So yeah, I can see why he married her. She is stunning. So this movie, just like Halloween Kills, has a really good IMDb score, but really not so good Rotten Tomatoes score. 36% versus like 6.7 on IMDb. Like that's a big difference there. And so yeah, this one is about a group of soldiers going into this underground facility, this umbrella corporation, and there's a virus leak. So yeah, they're going down there to shut down the supercomputer and stop the virus from spreading. And there's some couple of little twists along the way, and there's zombies. So, and my positives for this movie, I guess, will be Milla Jovovich. She is absolutely beautiful, so it doesn't hurt having her in this movie. And I thought, this is a bigger budget film. It feels very big budget. The production, the set designs, it looks really good. This Blu-ray looks beautiful, very HD, and it looks really good. So this is a really good Blu-ray 4K set. It looks really good, the transfers. And I really like the score, and the score was done by the same guy who did the Scream movies, Marco Beltrami, and Marilyn Manson has a credit as the music composer here. So I really like the music. It's just very like loud and adrenaline feel, just fist pump, and it's just very action movie. Like I said, it's like an action horror movie, and the score very much fits that genre. This feels like an action movie score, and it fits. It's very good. And the zombie dogs look pretty awesome. I can't point to any other movie that has zombie dogs. So that they looked pretty cool. And I like the whole like amnesia plot going on with our lead actress, our lead character here, who doesn't remember who she is, because without it, this movie would be more dull. Like, it's the only thing that kept me interested really throughout was her whole amnesia. I'm just sitting here trying to figure out, like, what does she forget? What's the twist? Like, what's up with this amnesia? Why does she wake up not remembering who she is? So I like that whole, plot, because it keeps you interested. It kept me engaged. And there's very little downtime. This movie just jumps right into it. It opens up with the corporation, the virus leaking, and everything's being shut down. People are getting decapitated by elevators, and it's crazy. Also, that's really about it. There's not a whole lot. That's really all I took from it. The acting's average, is fine. No performance that stood out as terrible or anything. It's well shot, so I'll give it that. Now, negatives, there's some jump scares in this movie, like with the loud noises. I can't stand it. It's very of the times, late 90s, early 2000s. It's still happening sometimes today even. I wish we would just get away from that. Stop playing the loud noise with it. Bong! It's not scary, all right? And there is some CGI, again, very much of the times. There is, especially with, gore. I don't like CGI gore. Like, when people's faces are blown off and they just are walking around with half a head, you can just tell that it's like a CGI effect, and the one creature, towards the end, looks like a CGI monster, and it ages the film a bit. But there was one shot where it looked like it was a practical effect on the creature, and that looked good. And the characters, like all the soldiers, I don't give a shit about any of them. There's like really no character development with quite a few of them. I don't care about any of them. So the characters are just dull. They're just cliche, grunts going into they act like they're so tough, and then they just get wiped out. It's kind of like Jason X. Like these characters feel like those characters in Jason X. It's just the same people with big guns, and they act like they're so tough, and then they just get taken out. And there's very little tension. The only scares in this movie is the jump scares, and outside of that, there's no other scares. There's hardly any tension that I felt while watching it. It just felt more like an action movie with some zombies, and the zombie action scenes with them attacking them was just mediocre. It was average zombie action stuff. Like it wasn't really all that entertaining. I was just blah about this movie. It was fine. It's an average zombie movie to me, and it just didn't do much for me. So, final thoughts. If you're a fan of the zombie genre, maybe you'll like this movie. I don't know. There's just not a lot of good zombie action sequences in this movie, and there's just not a lot of good characters in the movie. Someone to really like latch onto and care about. I don't know. Like, I just was whatever about this movie. Maybe it's just not my genre. Like I said, I'm not really into the zombie thing and action horror. But if you're a fan of action horror, or you're a fan of zombie movies, maybe you'll take something from this. You'll appreciate it. There's really not a whole lot of gore in the movie outside of some CGI gore here and there. I just feel like they missed the mark with the practical effects. Like there's one scene in a hallway that should have been way bloodier, but they just used, again, more CGI in that scene, so that was just a bummer. So yeah, if you got rid of some of the CGI, did some more practical effects, increased the tension in some scenes, this would be a better movie for it. So when it comes to Resident Evil, this one was just okay, so maybe consider streaming it, borrowing it from a friend, or renting it at Redbox. As for my spoiler discussion, there's really like nothing to say. Like this is probably the least amount of notes I've ever written for a spoiler discussion. I have nothing to talk about. But I will point out that the girl in the elevator in the beginning was stupid. Like when it lowers and stops, it's like Final Destination 2 with the ladder. It like stops and the guy just sits there and looks at the ladder for 5 more seconds. It's like, move. This chick, I guess she's stuck or something, but it's like everybody stopped. Like the computer was granting her a few moments there to get back inside the elevator, but she just sits there and like is frozen in fear, I guess. But the people should have still been trying to like pull her in. But then she gets decapitated off camera. But yeah, I just couldn't help but like yell at the TV in that moment, like, move! What are you doing? Do you not care if you live or die? Like Jesus. We see Milla naked, so I wrote that down and get a good boob shot, and we even see Bush later on. We see her full frontal almost later on, and so I'm not sure why she is waking up with amnesia. I didn't get that at the very end, like why. So she lived at that place, and then they gassed her and made her lose her memory. Was that the corporation that made her lose her memory, or was it her boyfriend? I don't know. But yeah, like the laser grid scene, this is straight out of like Cube, but lasers instead of like a wire fence. Cube came out in like 97, I think. So this ripped that off. And Cube did it way better. And I love how like the laser, it was like really low and the guy was about to jump over it. Like he thought, he was going to like outsmart it. Like, I'm just going to jump over it. And then it like raises up and cuts him in half. That was pretty funny. And another thing that was really funny, I rewound it to watch it again because I was like, wait, did I see that? So this guy has his gun and he's like shooting at the zombies, and then he stops shooting and then he turns around and there's a zombie. You can see it. It's kind of blurry, but he's in the background, because it's like the focus like is on him, and he's in the background. This zombie just falls like he got shot. He didn't shoot him at all. So he was like reacting to being shot like 5 seconds later. The guy was shooting, he stopped, he turned around, and then you just see a zombie in the background go, oh, look, I got shot. I just now realized it 5 seconds later. That made me laugh. And the Red Queen, the little girl, She sounds like a British Tangina from Poltergeist. That's what I was thinking the whole time. And so Spence, he's the one that caused the virus for some reason. Money. It's always about money, right? So, and when he gets attacked by the big beast, I was expecting him to get ripped apart. I mean, this thing is so fucking huge. But then when we see him later on, it just like scratched him a little bit. It's like, really? That thing is huge. The claws, it would have ripped him to shreds. That should have happened. I mean, I guess they wanted that scare later on where he's able to like come back for one last scare, but no, he should have been in pieces, just dead. And so then the CGI fire was awful. That was just bad CGI. It's like this movie had like over $30 million with its budget, and the fire looked that bad. It was like straight up like a YouTube green screen. It looked awful. So yeah, and then she gets captured, and then it turns into like 28 days later where she just wakes up in a hospital, pulls all the shit out, and just walks out into the city. Everyone's just dead. There's cars flipped over. There's zombies everywhere, and she just cocks the shotgun like, I'm ready for the sequel. And that's the end of the movie. So, yeah, very 28 days later. And that came out the same year, right? 2002. So, yeah, I was getting major 28 days later vibes from that ending. And, like, how does she survive? Like, no zombie got in that room. Like, how long has she been passed out? It has to be 28 days. I don't know how long it's been, but, yeah, I'm not sure how she didn't get ripped apart in her sleep. But anyways, that's the end of the movie. That's all I really got to say about it. So let me know what you thought about this movie, and let me know if I should be worried about the rest of these movies. Is it just going to keep going downhill? Are there sequels better than this? Because I was very meh on this one, so I'm hoping that the rest get more entertaining. I was just very lukewarm on this one. So let me know if the sequels are better, in your opinion, and all your opinions on this movie. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit those like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's just an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.